Good morning. Happy Sunday morning live. Good morning. Wow. I'm still marveling. I'm still marveling at the world that we live in. Marveling not in a good way. Marveling is like, oh my God, what the hell? What kind of hell did we enter into? And holy crap. So I got an email from a student. I'm not going to say her name. Her name is Amber, but not to say her whole name. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this on YouTube and give this to her because I'm not going to go back and forth. But when somebody wants to quiz me, pick my brain for a school paper, I know I'm up against like so much. It's like one single person against a whole battalion, a Chinese army. It's like Tiananmen Square when that one guy was staying up against those tanks. And here's the thing, which I'm really kind of scared for all of you guys that are sending your kids off to university, who are sending your kids off to any public school. It's going to be insane as far as the draconian rules are going to have to endure. And then you as a parent are also going to have to be part of it as well. Because you see, how do you control the adults? You do it through the children. And that is exactly what's going on with the targeting of the small children, molding them into the system's way, as well as the teenagers and then the young adults. And this is why I see a lot of the left-wing children of the yuppies who are entering into these colleges like Portland, all the different Ivy League schools. They are cannon fodder for the state. Like, seriously, they are. And so when somebody wants to ask me and pick my brain for a school paper regarding the Jilly Juice protocol, I'm basically telling them, you know what? What I really want to say is everything that you're learning in college regarding the solutions for all of these said problems that the universities are going to pose, and all the problems are completely like made up. Everything that you're learning in medical school, everything you're learning in, now I'm not saying the basics, like I'm not saying like don't believe that a cell is a cell. Of course a cell is a cell, and all the concepts, like all of the definitions of specific words, yes, that's easy. Go look up in a dictionary. But the way the school and the class creates a problem, and then all reactions are going to be universally the same because the body's going to react to stimulus regardless of what it is. But the problem and the solution are what is the propaganda, and it's all lies in the university. So how do I tell this student who is saying, hey, can I pick your brain about Jilly Juice because it keeps coming up? And I'm like, there's nothing I could say. The only thing I could say is everything you're learning in school regarding problems and solutions, because reactions are going to be the same, is all lies. But the reactions are going to be the facts, because anytime you do something to this, it's going to happen like this. Okay? All reactions are universal. But it's the problems and it's the solutions are what's the propaganda. It's what's being spun. It's the made up bullshit. And I was listening to CNN this morning, and they had the president of Rice University on there talking about how they are going to open up the school, what measures are going to be put into place. They have a COVID court. They have very strict rules regarding COVID. Of course, the social distancing. Of course, wearing the mask. And it's not just wearing masks outside, it's wearing masks inside. They want everyone getting tested at least once a week. At least once a week. And obviously, if you're sick, stay home. And so it's like, and they're also in the research and development of how to react to COVID. And so, you know, I don't want to go back and forth with anyone on email regarding my information because it's pretty much in this book as far as the microbiome and sugar and salt, and then Jilly Juice and healing and the prostaglandins and all of that. And then the actual, my perception as far as living indefinitely and that your lifespan is controlled, the conspiracy portion of it, the anti-vax portion of it, because the vaccines are more of a middle ground in this book, because I want to be able to reach at least some of the mainstreamers, not all of them, but the real heavy hitting around the conspiracy world, and then me answering to the Ohio Attorney General with all those 10 questions that they gave me is in this book, okay? And this book is thicker because of how I answered all the questions to my own government when they were quizzing me on how I'm able to say all this stuff. And they thought I was some kind of weird, person with a manifesto, because that's what the lady said at the OAG. She's like, I don't want a manifesto. I just want you to answer these 10 questions, and that's it. Substantiate what you're saying. So here's my substantiation, and it has a bibliography. Okay, so you could have a million questions regarding symptoms. You could have a million questions regarding, but that would be just like going into the details of how a body reacts when it gets hit by antibodies, right? But what I really want this young girl to focus on and understand, because I'm not going to go back and forth with her, and I can only imagine how many questions she has. But salt your body needs. It's part of the electrolytes. Okay, when you take salt and you're not drinking enough water, or you have predispositions and you're taking painkillers and prostaglandin inhibitors, you're going to then bring up the antidiuretic hormone. What is that? It's when you have water retention. So nobody can die from dehydration when they're taking salt, because obviously you're not going to force your body to take so much salt where you'll kill yourself. No. If you're eating foods that have a high amount of salt and you're not drinking enough water, the body will then bring up the antidiuretic hormone, and that's the swelling, that's the water retention that people experience when they don't drink enough water. And this is why you saw me, if you were following me from a couple of years ago, where I looked really, really bloated. And then when I did the Jilly juice, all of my water weight went away. That antidiuretic hormone was then switched off because I was drinking enough water, I was taking enough salt, and I was eating, drinking probiotics, and I was actually nourishing my body, okay? So salt will never kill you, but the medical holistic academia, Rice University, whatever university you belong to, is going to demonize salt, because salt is life. Because guess what academia and universities do? They're tied in with the corporations that make money off of making drugs and remedies for your friends and family and you. Okay? So don't think that academia is benevolent. Don't think that they're just a standalone, completely like neutral to any kind of political influences. Oh no, academia is so tied in with the government and so tied in with the corporations that you think that there's a difference between corporations and the government. No, no, no. They're actually one and the same, and they're conjoined. And when you take part in academia, you're taking part into the propaganda that people should die and that symptoms are something that you can't control and it's a bad thing. And then you take part in the research and development to suppress the evolution, to suppress your adaptation. And then you further destroy yourself. Look at your friends and family and look at your parents. That should tell you, that should be an indicator on what it is you're entering into when you buy into a thought process from the government who is tied in with corporations like biotech. Okay? And Rice University obviously is like, holy shit. Getting tested every week, that's a lot of monoclonal antibodies they're taking from the DNA they're taking from their student body. And guess how many vaccines are going to be created from that? It's going to then be injected into the population, of which then all of your friends and family are going to have to adapt to your friends and family's DNA and antibodies. So it's very interesting. Probiotics, you know what they are. Probiotics is basically the lactic acid, the lactobacillus. It's part of the microbiome, okay? Lactobacillus, part of bacteria. Bacteria is part of your microbiome. Good gut bacteria. I don't need to say too much more except that when you're just doing strictly probiotics, but not salt or water or nutrition or electrolytes, then yeah, you could get lactic acidosis. And that's what happens when people are taking kombucha and apple cider vinegar, and or they are running so much, they're long distance runners, and they have lactic acid buildup. And guess what solves lactic acid buildup or lactic acidosis? It's the salt water, the electrolytes, as well as the sugar and the nutrients. Okay? Water, you need water. No distilled water, you just need water. Water is very necessary for your body to be able to bring in the good nutrients and wash away out the bad excess, okay? So don't let anybody demonize water. Cabbage and kale. Well, you can look up the nutrients of cabbage and kale. Cabbage has the vitamin U, which is basically a hormone that helps with ulcers and seals the gut. So that's why cabbage is so necessary with the J juice, because it seals the gut to where you're able to absorb nutrients. And then guess what? Your body will have to deal with cell regeneration and then releasing the excess. Kale is majorly full of nutrients and minerals, and that is the most cruciferous, most chock full nutrient cruciferous vegetable out there. And when I first started the protocol, it was the cabbage because it was the easiest and it was what I first discovered. And then someone suggested that I do kale, and I did kale, and it was like my whole body just smiled. I got the missing nutrients, okay? And when you ferment everything down to a pre-digested state, that's when you're able to, and that's what the Jilly juice is. It's a fermentation down to a pre-digested state so your body can absorb nutrients and release the excess, and salt is the energizing force. It's not just the fact that it won't kill you, but it also is an energizing force because your body is electric, and salt and water are conductors. And you need salt because you're a halophile. I mean, if you look back in my book or Google how, life first came to be, it came from salt water. Okay? Life didn't just appear. When they're looking for life in different places, sometimes there's life in fresh water and there's a lot of life in salt water. Okay? Symptoms. Symptoms are mischaracterized. So if you're asking, well, how does Jilly and Jazz bring up all these different symptoms? Because symptoms is a body trying to evolve, trying to adapt. And if you die from symptoms, it's because you haven't given your body what it needs. And it's still going to go through its processes as if the body had enough resources. But most of you who are experiencing major symptoms like heart attacks and strokes, when you already have the first indicator of a heart attack and stroke, you should have really changed your lifestyle and brought in the right nutrients, so that way when you go through your reparations overnight, you won't die from a preventable disease. But why people die from symptoms is because they have never given their body what it needs to be able to handle the overnight reparations. And so symptoms are highly mischaracterized, and then when academia studies all the different exotic symptoms, it's because your body's being attacked at the micro level and the body's trying to survive. And that is really the evolution process. But what is evolution? Evolution is relative to where you came from. So some people are evolving from 600, 700, 1,000 predispositions, and others are maybe 1,000 predispositions they have to deal with. And so evolution is relative. It's not something that everyone universally will experience on the same symptoms or the same evolution. No, because you may have major issues with your cardiovascular system, and someone else may have major issues with their neurological system, and each of your symptoms healing process, regardless if you're on the J juice or not, are going to be different, because every single time you have a symptom and you're not on the J juice, that's the body trying to evolve, trying to adapt. And then when you keep experiencing chronic symptoms, it's the body still trying to evolve and adapt, and it's also being attacked at the micro level by antibodies that you're exposed to in the vaccines, therapeutics, prescription drugs, and in your environment from people who are shedding. And so, yeah, the body is going to try to keep evolving as you are being attacked simultaneously, okay? Antibodies, you're all being sold that antibodies are healing. No, antibodies are not healing. Antibodies are exactly what it is. It's antibody. So you can see Rice University and all these different, Stanford and Yale and Harvard all say, oh yeah, antibody therapy, antibody in the vaccines. We got to have more sustainable antibodies in the body. We have to go and test for antibodies. They're seeing them all over the commercials, how antibodies are so wonderful. Antibodies are like the next best thing to sliced bread. And no, they're not. They actually are exactly what they say they are. They are anti your body. They attack you at the micro level. Okay? I'm not going to get a little tissue. Antibodies attack you at the micro level. And when you are an Rh positive, as well as AB, which is a surface marker antigen A, surface marker antigen B, you will then be inducing antibodies. And so when you hold a lot of antibodies or hold a lot of antigen, or you have your body programmed to look for antigen, then the body will then trigger antibodies based upon the programming of your innate immune system. And then your adaptive immune system then triggers the T cells. So you have B cells that are antigen, spy, bot, search, and destroy, and then the T cells are what then the antigen go and basically activate the foot soldiers to attack whatever has been programmed to attack. Okay? So antibodies are not your friend. B cells and T cells are being activated all the time in the medical holistic industry, and that is what is causing the aging process and cancer disease and chronic illness and your chronic pain. Okay? So I'm telling you, you can ask me all these questions, and academia and your teachers are going to say the complete opposite. So, like, I have a chance, really, if you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on an education so you can fit into the system, and I'm saying the complete opposite. You really think that you're going to listen to me? You might, just because you want to understand both sides of it, but you have to assimilate to what they're telling you, and then when you finally get out of college and get your degree, you'll just forget everything you were taught and then learn what I've been teaching, and then you either will live or you die. It's one of two choices. All right? Prostaglandins, that's part of the innate and the adaptive immune system and the immune systems, okay? It is it's the life side of your immune systems. The innate and the adaptive do have the antibodies and the antigen and all that programming, but they're also working in conjunction with the prostaglandins. So that's why you have pain simultaneously when you get hit by something that is attacking you at the micro level. So that's why it's very difficult for people to understand the difference between pain and healing and then antibodies, and they think they're one and the same, because the allopathic immune system doesn't differentiate and separate that there's two parts to your immune systems. They just kind of conjoin them as if they're one, and then people think the antibodies are healing, and no, they're not. And then they're saying, oh yeah, let's boost your immunity, which is boosting death, which is boosting antibodies. But no one talks about the prostaglandins, because you know why? Because the allopathic holistic have made money creating therapeutics to suppress your adaptation, your evolution. And so prostaglandins don't really come up unless they talk about prostaglandin inhibitors, which are in the painkillers. Okay? And then the microbiome. Well, then the innate adaptive. Innate has the B cells that basically have programmed antigen that then trigger their foot soldiers, the adaptive immune system to then create the T cells to then go after the natural killer cells, the NK cells, which I do talk about in this book. Okay? But NK cells, antibodies, natural killer cells, T cells, they're all the same. Leukocytes, capsaicin, all of these different proteins that aid in, like apoptosis, the cell program that programs cell death. Autophagy is where the body purges, but apoptosis is a programmed cell death, and that can be programmed by biotech. Okay, so you'll see a lot of different names for the same thing, and they have specific contexts and specific purposes based upon the context. So that's why it's so confusing for a new student to realize my information, and they're trying to learn the academics way and completely the opposite of each. All right, the microbiome. The microbiome is viruses, so don't demonize your microbiome. Don't demonize parasites. Don't demonize viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria, because I do explain the benefits and the efficacy of all of them, and they're part of your microbiome. They are what you are made of. You came from like 10 amino acids in the salt water, and then the microbiome built you up into this human that we call Homo sapien today, okay? And so when you are trying to kill parasites and protozoa and protein and viruses, and they all need a host, and you're the host, you are seeing then the destruction of humanity in plain sight. When you're hearing about antivirals, when you're hearing let's kill the virus, let's destroy the virus, here's an antiviral, here's a therapeutic, here's an antibody, destroy the virus. It's basically destroying you, because the virus needs a host, a parasite needs a host. You are protein, so why would you, then you see then proteins being programmed to then weaponize your own body against you. I mean, this is how pervasive and how crazy the propaganda and how pervasive the death trajectory, the death propaganda, the depopulation agenda is, okay? So don't demonize viruses. They're just evolution. It's just data that the body is trying to upgrade to, and then you're not giving your body what it needs, and you're filling your body with antibodies. So how could you possibly, adapt and evolve with new data in the environment? Because all of Bill Gates' vaccines and all of their viral inventions are just data. It's like, yeah, it's artificial intelligence because there's an intention behind it. It's not like you're around a monkey and a horse and a goat and a plant and then the viruses intermixed together and bonded together and then you picked up that. No, you actually are being um, artificially intelligentized, so to speak, having an acceleration to evolution through biotech. So biotech can work for you or it can work against you. You have to be able to build up your body correctly to handle all of these intentional viruses being released, as well as whatever is out in the wild, whether it's in the Congo or some tropical place that has all these different viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria. Because you hear all about, like, oh yeah, I went to the Amazon, I picked up a virus, picked up this, and now I got to go get a vaccine, a bunch of antibodies to kill it. And I'm like, no, you need to adapt to it. Because when you go to the Congo, you go to the Amazon, and you pick up a virus, you're basically assimilating to an environment. But you don't have what it takes to assimilate because you're not giving your body what it needs. And so that's why people who have never been into a new microbiome don't survive it, because they don't give their body what it needs. But every single virus is a data, is an evolution. It is a way to assimilate to your environment. But the thing is that you've been scared away from the salt, you've been scared away from probiotics on some level, and or you're taking these specific protocols that are so antibiotic that you can't possibly experience true evolution because you're afraid of pain. Okay, and that's what is being hammered into everybody in the allopathic holistic world, is to run away from pain and to basically be, you know, to be anesthetized and zombified until you pass away. Okay, and then biochemistry. Guess what your biochemistry is made up of? It is made up of fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals. What are prohormones? They are hormones. They are the nutrients. They're the vitamin A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Okay, because that's how the supplements industry is trying to sell all of their nutrients and all of their different products, is because they're like, oh yeah, this will help you with the vitamin D, and vitamin D is a hormone, obviously, but all vitamins are hormones. Okay, but there's vitamin D and A and B and C and all these different fruits. Yes, fruits and vegetables give you the nutrition to then trigger specific hormones in your body. So they call it prohormones. So your biochemistry is fatty acid, which is basically has the prostaglandins, and it's from either animal fat or plant fat, and you need both. Don't let anyone tell you that you shouldn't eat meat, because you need all of that. What do you think the Indians lived off of on the plains before the Spanish came and took over America? They were living off of buffalo, and they were in a symbiotic relationship with their environment. So don't let anybody try to scare you away from meat, okay? There's humane ways to get meat, but meat is needed. Don't starve yourself because of some political bullshit agenda. But you need fatty acid because that's the prostaglandins. That's the healing hormones. That's where the healing comes from, is a fat on your body. Too much fat will cause too much tension, and too much tension and constrictness, constricts your blood vessels. Too much fat and cause, heart attacks and strokes, but not enough fat, you won't be able to heal from wounds, okay? So your biochemistry is fatty acid, amino acids. That's the building blocks of proteins of you. Okay, so fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, which is the vitamin A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and don't take the supplements because you don't know how to dose yourself. Prohormones and minerals. Minerals is the elements. It's on the elements of the periodic tables. Okay, you need elements. You need the mercury. You need the fluoride. You need all the different, barium and all the different heavy metals. But you need a balance of it, and then you need a body, an immune system, a digestive system, an energized body to be able to take in and absorb what you need and release the excess. And the reason why you have cancer disease, chronic illness, obesity, people wearing glasses, all these different diverse issues, is because people have not been given their body what it needs, and they have leaky gut because those antibodies punch holes in the cells. Those cells are not absorbing the nutrients, and then guess what? You have the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics is where you have wasted energy. You're not absorbing what you need. Okay? And so, that's basically Jilly Juice in a nutshell, and why it is I won't go and debate somebody in academia, because everything that I'm teaching you that contributes to the end result of life is completely the antithesis of what academia and university and the government is trying to teach you and brainwash you into. their whole intention is at some point you're going to die. So it's not going to matter what you do, whether you do a pill, powder, supplement, detox protocol, taking out organs, putting in organs, implants, whatever, because you can mess with someone's biochemistry and they can live for 30 or 40 years with that disability, with that issue, and people think it's normal and they're like, oh yeah, it's okay to die, it's okay. And really, that's the deception of academia and the government. What Jilly Juice aims to do, if you can handle it, is say, hey, you can live indefinitely, and then guess what? All of your diverse issues are going to be addressed, but you have to handle the healing process. You have to handle the evolution process. And if you can't, then your outcome is going to be predictable. Okay? So that's my real quick and dirty countering anything that Rice University has to offer, anything that Harvard has to offer, Stanford, Yale, Princeton, Berkeley. I'm telling you, I am completely tearing down the deception of all the university. So when you enter your kids into university, they're going to be wearing masks, they're going to be giving up their DNA, they're going to be probably being forced vaccinated, they're going to be socially distanced and completely MK Ultra'd. MK Ultra for the system. That's what you parents who are putting your kids in not only public school, but in the university system, and you're paying for it. That's what's freaking crazy. So I'm so happy that I was born in the 70s, dealt with all the bullshit I went through. Yes, I went through some bullshit, but I'm able to now substantiate and corroborate the long-term planning of this pedophilia stuff, of this social distancing, of this isolation of people, testing to see who can handle the new environment. That's exactly what I went through as a child, and I'm seeing it being rolled out as we speak. Okay? And it's kind of surreal. I feel like I'm in the freaking Twilight Zone. And then, of course, with the HR 666 and the contact tracing, that's right. Rice University was saying this morning when I was listening to the CNN segment that, yeah, you have to actually take part in the contact tracing. Like, they're having a mini type of Draconian, Orwellian society within these universities. And so then when they see how they can implement that, then they're going to roll it out. But roll it out to the general population, but first they have to justify it. They first have to say, okay, we have this second pandemic, the new reinfection, a new strain, the virus mutated, now we have all these people, and of course your kids are going to be having to wear these face shields, these masks, these freaking bubble heads. Oh my God. I just can't believe the world that we live in today. So no, I'm not going to email this girl back, but I'm going to transfer this to YouTube, send her my YouTube video, and say good luck to you, because you're entering into a world that if you buy everything that they're selling you, you will have no chance with Jilly Juice at all whatsoever. So it won't matter what I say, what I come back with. Straight from the horse's mouth. You want straight from the horse's mouth? This is as straight from the horse's mouth as you're going to get. And I'm not going to go back and forth on email. There's no freaking way with someone that's just entering into college or in college being a tool for the system. There's no freaking way. I just say good luck to you. And your days are numbered because of how many antibodies. You go get a titer test, you go type your blood, and they're like, oh yeah, you're AB positive. And you could be O negative and still have imbalances in your biochemistry. And just because you're O negative doesn't mean that you could be AB at some point when you get a bunch of vaccines, because those are the antibodies. They're going to bind to your DNA. So, you could, Jason's like, I don't have access to kale, Jillian, just cabbage. That's fine, cabbage is fine. And then find the next best cruciferous vegetable. If you find Brussels sprouts, anything in the family of kale, so Google different vegetables in the family of kale, and you might find something of that representation where you are in Mexico, okay? Because there's a bunch of different vegetables, like, I don't know. You can Google it. But anyways, yeah, I would suggest you diversify and find something in the family of kale in your world. But yeah, I feel bad for anyone that's entering into the university system, because your days are numbered. You have so many antibodies. the new vaccines you're going to get are going to change your blood type. I mean, they already have a new blood type, like blood type D. So it's like holy crap. And so that's why those of you that are on the J juice, you're going to be the voice of reason out there. Cruciferous, yes, cruciferous. You're going to be the voice of reason out there. And so we're gonna have a slave class in our society. We're gonna have the untouchables in our society because they're gonna be so weak because their immune system is gonna be so weak and their immunity is gonna be so strong, which is basically the death process, that they won't have a thought process onto their own. They're gonna be cannon fodder for the state to try to corral the adults who are aging and degrading. Because that's what the Antifa and BLM were doing to the RNC participants. They were basically corralling them and snarling at the participants. They were an older couple that was walking down the street that went to the RNC convention, and this young millennial was snarling at them. That's exactly what the system is going to be raising. Is they're going to be creating border collies for the agenda, and that's exactly what all your students in academia, college, are going to be trained border collies. Okay? And so if you want to give your kids to the system to be trained border collies, and then they're telling you, yes, mom and dad, you need to go to an old person's home and get all your vaccines and all your prescription drugs, and it's okay to pass away because you've given your life to us. Oh, it's going to be so interesting watching the parents who give their kids to the system now have the kids turn on their own on their parents' generation. Pretty sad state of affairs, but that's what we're heading into. Mark my words. Good luck to all of you. Do the J juice. Deal with the healing process. Wow. All right. Bye-bye. Happy Sunday.